So today guys, mainly like first we will cover switch port trunk, and definitely guys, like first we will see the concept like more deeply. So I will like show you like in a real company how we configure that trunk port and what other command we will configure on that port. Then we will see the trunk manual pruning. So we'll see like by default trunk port is carrying all the VLAN information. But in the real world, guys, definitely we will manually pass the VLAN. Okay, like only specific those VLAN should be carry over this trunk port. Okay. So if you see this diagram, guys, like here in this diagram, we basically configure these port as a access, and switch to switch we have configured port as a trunk. Okay. So if you remember, guys, like in my previous class, we will basically simply configure the switch port mode trunk command, like all the port, okay, which is connector between switch to switch. Okay. So if I show you guys, like by default, the trunk port, if let's say if we go to switch 3, on switch 3, if we run the command show interface trunk, so show interface trunk. So this command basically you can see by default it is basically carrying all the VLAN information. Okay. And right now only on this switch, okay, we have these three VLAN exit in the switch database. So you can check the switch VLAN database like show VLAN brief. So right now on this switch, okay, we only have these three VLAN, and so the spanning tree is only running for these three VLAN, and currently only these three VLAN carrying the traffic. Let's say guys, I'm configuring one more VLAN, VLAN 30 in this network, and VLAN 30 I only require on this switch. Okay. So on switch 4, I'm creating one more VLAN, which is switch VLAN 30, or this VLAN I'm not creating anywhere else. Okay, so only like on switch, this is my switch 4. Okay, here we require VLAN 30, VLAN 30, and if we see show interface trunk on this switch, okay, so now this will basically carrying so VLAN 30. So if you see like guys 30 VLAN अभी यहाँ पे show नहीं हो रहा. The reason, if you remember, like spanning tree is basically putting this VLAN, listening, then learning, and after 30 seconds, it will put this VLAN into the forwarding state. Okay. So if we run this command again, so still like we are not seeing, because this is the main output, okay, in trunk output. So if you see like this port only right now carrying the traffic of this VLAN, and right now like VLAN 30 is like, now you can see 30 is basically passing the traffic. Right now guys, like as we know on this diagram, if we have a let's say two machine which is basically participating in VLAN 30, so initially if they communicate to each other, okay, so they will send the broadcast packet, which is the ARP request. So by default I will also send the traffic towards to this link, okay, for VLAN 30, so which is unnecessary. Okay, because as we know, okay, in our setup the VLAN 30 is only exit on this switch. So there is no point to send the traffic for VLAN 30 to other switches. So this is unnecessary. Okay. So in this case, guys, like another command we will do, okay, like on this trunk port, we will basically do the manual pruning. So we will control, okay, like only these port will carrying the traffic. So in the real world, basically like the way you configure this, okay, like interface gigabit 0 wire true, switch port trunk encapsulation dot one q, switch port mode trunk. So these two command guys like required to configure a trunk port. So this is again in the old platform like layer 3 switch. Okay, we need to define this dot one q encapsulation, and in the newer version, okay, only this is a command required to configure a port as a trunk. But we will also configure the manual pruning. Okay, like switch port trunk allowed VLAN So we will configure the command like this command, okay, which is manual pruning, okay. So we clearly say, hey, on this link, I will want to pass only VLAN 10 and 20. That is it, okay. So in that case, like if you run this command like show interface trunk, now you see I will only carrying the traffic for those VLAN. Okay. So this is a manual pruning, okay, and definitely in the real world, all my trunk port will having this command, okay, which is basically the manual pruning. And so this command is guys like we will always configure in the real world, okay. However, if you see we have this command configure, and in future, if you want to add one more VLAN, okay, in this list, okay. So I see like most of the people, okay, first time if they are doing this thing, the mistake normally they do, okay. So let's say I want to add one more VLAN in this list, let's say VLAN 30. So the way we can normally like what people they do, okay. So gigabit 0 wire to switch port trunk allowed VLAN. So you can if you say let's say you are adding the VLAN 30, okay. तो इस केस में अगर आप एंटर करते हो तो ये क्या करेगा guys, इस कमांड से क्या होगा सिर्फ VLAN 30 ही पास होगा और ये पहले वाली VLAN है क्या है ये रिमूव हो जाएंगी और उसका रिजल्ट क्या निकलेगा गाइस आपका जो नेटवर्क है वो क्या हो जाएगा डाउन हो जाएगा फॉर VLAN 10 20 और VLAN 1 के लिए so most of the people okay अगर आप first time if you running adding any VLAN in your pruning list okay so if you see like the configuration now so now this port is only carrying the traffic for VLAN 30 and all my previous VLAN that are gone now. So in case में like make sure if you adding any new VLAN in your pruning list, okay, so switch port, trunk, allowed, VLAN, make sure you using this add keyword. So let's say like right now we have a VLAN 30. I want to add the previous VLAN, okay, like 1, 10, and 20. So don't give the space, okay. So if you see now, guys, like again, this link is basically carrying my all the VLAN, okay, like the previous VLAN, like these are my previous VLAN and my old VLAN. Then guys, like the other command, guys, like I have seen the useful, okay, like interface gigabit 0 wire 2, switch port, trunk, allowed VLAN. If you use, like one is none, I will show you basically what this command is used, and other is basically like if you want to remove into the existing VLAN, so make sure you use this keyword, okay. So let me guys like tell you the use of this none command, okay. So none means basically guys like I don't want to pass any VLAN. Okay? So let's say if I say here the keyword is none, so I use this command a lot. Like when I'm doing like any troubleshooting, let's say I'm doing like activity which is critical, okay. So let's say guys like I give you the example. So this command guy like I remember when I was doing the switch replacement, okay. So like earlier guys like we were using 6500 switches, okay, and these 6500 basically connected to our Nexus switches. And what we did, okay, so as we basically doing the switch replacement, so we were removing the 6500, okay, and installing the new core switches which are our 9500. So physically, guys, like I connected those switches to my live network, okay, and obviously on those 9500, I have configured the same VLAN which we have on 6500. So physically, guys, like first I want to check, make sure these port are coming up or not. So these port, guys, like I have configured with this configuration, okay, switch port allowed VLAN none. Because I want to show, okay, like when I want to see like physically those port are up or not, make sure they are not carrying any traffic, even for VLAN 1 also. So that's why guys, like initially I use the uh, uh, I configure this command on those two port. So make sure they are not carrying any VLAN traffic. But see, in the same time, I can see the physical status. Okay, I don't need to shut down the port. I can see like properly these speed are port are up and showing the speed is 100 GB. So in that case, guys, like you don't need to shut your port, okay, because your port has this command, okay. So this way, guys, like you can see some scenario. Let's say you are doing like any speed or any troubleshooting, okay, on a link. You have a two link, okay, and let's say you are doing any troubleshooting on a link two, and during the troubleshooting time you don't want to send any traffic. Make sure you can use this command, okay, switch port trunk allowed VLAN none, okay. And the next guys, like we will see the like again the command show interface trunk. Now let me like more clear you this concept, okay? This tagging and the untagged traffic, okay? So by default, even on a trunk port, okay, we have the native VLAN, which is VLAN one, which is normally like native. What is a native VLAN? Native VLAN is untagged VLAN, okay? So if you remember, like in our first class, okay, I show you how uh, this switch, okay, basically for understand the VLAN tagging, okay. So because the end machine, okay, the end machine they don't have any idea about tagging, okay. So normally, guys, like let's say if we see the same VLAN communication, so when this host one want to communicate with the host three, so when the switch receive the traffic on this interface, okay, so it will tag, okay, it will tag, hey, this port in VLAN 10, I need to tag the VLAN ID, which is 12-bit tag, okay. So as you can see, you don't know host can, they are not connected to the same switch. So we need to send the traffic like first to the another switch, then this another switch basically send the traffic to this switch, and then host, okay, will receive the traffic, okay. So in this case, if you see, as I told you, like the Ethernet header, okay, header don't have any uh, tag or header, okay, to include this information, okay. That's why we require a protocol dot one q. So dot one q basically required to carrying this VLAN information end to end. So that's why switch to switch we always run trunk port, and here also when this switch receives the traffic, so when this is switch, okay, send the traffic to the end machine, then it will remove the traffic, it will remove the VLAN tag, okay, which is our 12-bit, okay. So that's why guys, like these port, okay, like where you see the configuration switch port mode access, that means those are the port will accept the traffic which is untagged, okay. So let me guys like here show you the one like very different configuration, okay, but make sure you will understand the concept, okay. So not only guys, like we will configure the trunk between switch to switch. You will see like let's see you have a switch which is going to the server, and even this server we have a multiple NIC card, and server also support trunking, okay, dot one q. So in that case you may also configure the trunk port between switch to your VM ESXi server, okay. So on this EXI server, maybe you have so many virtual machine, okay, having the different IP addresses. So you may running the trunk port between switch to the ESX side, okay. So that means like same concept you need to follow, okay. Like if switch side port is configuration is switch port mode trunk, make sure like the VM EXI interface should be also in supporting the tagging, okay, which is J1Q. Similarly, guys, like you will see when we configuring the trunk between the firewall side is also let's say using Palo Alto firewall, any firewall, okay, if you configure this port as a trunk, make sure the .1q tag also supported by the remote device, okay. So let's say like what I'm doing, okay, I'm basically, so we have this host which is IP address is 1.2. So this is the IP schema for VLAN 10, and this port has also participated in VLAN 10, and the IP address is VLAN, sorry, 1.1. Okay. So if we see right now the configuration of those two port, very simple. Okay, switch port mode access. Normally this is the configuration we do for end machine. So if we see, if I show you the configuration, okay, let's say on host 3. So host 3 like switch 4, show run interface gigabit 0 by 3. So okay, this switch don't have any configuration. Port has, so interface gigabit 0 by 3, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10. Then on this host, okay, which is connected to switch 3, port number 3, let me see the configuration. Okay, so show run interface gigabit 0 by 3. So it has like the same. Normally this is the configuration we do for end machine. Okay, and if we see the connectivity, okay, like from host 1 ping 192.168.1.2, so we should have a reachability if the devices has properly IP address configured. Okay, and if they don't, let me configure the IP address. And if they still don't have a reachability, we will troubleshoot. Okay, so show IP interface brief. We have a correct IP address configure, and the host 3 should be, I think, 1.3 instead of 1.2. Show IP interface brief. Okay, it has no IP address. So interface gigabit 0 by 0, no shutdown IP address 192.168.1.3, 255, 255, 255. That is it. Okay. So going back to host 1 and pinging 192.168.1.3, so we should have a reachability. And if we don't have a reachability, we will troubleshoot. Okay. So this is like basic communication, the layer 2 communication. So that means make sure the VLAN must be passed end to end. Okay. So another thing, guys, like I will check, like make sure VLAN 10 is configured in the database, as well as this port should be participate in VLAN 10. And if it is this trunk port, make sure the trunk port carrying the VLAN 10 information. Okay. So let's see hop by hop all my link, all my switches having the VLAN 10 or not. So let's go to switch 3. We see the port configuration, but have we configured this VLAN in the database or not? So show VLAN brief. Okay, we have a database VLAN, and this is my trunk port are show interface trunk carrying the traffic for VLAN 10. So I'm going to the core one. So the core has this VLAN in the database or not. The show VLAN brief. We have a VLAN 10 in the database, show interface trunk, and my trunk port is carrying the traffic for VLAN 10. I believe like switch 4, so show VLAN brief. We have a VLAN in the database, show run interface gigabit 0 by 3. It is, so this is a port going to the end machine, and show interface trunk. Okay, we have this none command configure. So you see, like earlier we used this command and saying gigabit 0 by 2 passing no traffic. That's why we don't have a reachability, guys. So this is basically the none command do. Okay, so switch port trunk allowed VLAN. Here you can say all, or you can be specific. Okay, like VLAN 10, 20, and in the real world we always be specific. Okay, because we want to stop the unnecessary broadcast traffic, right? So after configuring this, okay, it will take 30 seconds to pass all the VLAN traffic because of STP. And once STP basically pass the traffic, okay, so you will see the host one should have the reachability to host 3, okay. So let's say if I ping in again, now we have a reachability. Now guys, like, let me check your concept, okay. So I'm doing the configuration on this port on gigabit 0y3. Let's say I'm doing the configuration on switch port. First, I'm doing the configuration interface gigabit 0y3 switch port mode. Okay, switch port trunk VLAN allowed VLAN 10. Show run interface gigabit. Now see the configuration, okay. So this is a I seen sometime in the real world also people not properly check the configuration and just like do the configuration, okay, and don't see the like after doing the configuration, okay, don't see the full configuration of the interface. Now tell me, based on this configuration, is this port is working as a access port or working as a trunk port? गाइस मैं आपको अनम्यूट कर रहा हूँ और इधर जो नहीं बोल रहा वो चैट पे भी बता सकता है दिस पोर्ट इज वर्किंग एज अ ट्रंक पोर्ट और एक्सेस पोर्ट बेस्ड ऑन दिस कॉन्फ़िगरेशन.
It's an access port.
It is access port, okay. Other?
Access port.
Okay. So guys, like you need to understand, okay, mainly this command decide whether this port working as an access or trunk. Even this command is configured, but this command is no use here because as on the under the port we have a this command switch port mode access, so which clearly saying this port working as an access. So you can check like still we have a reachability, okay, still we have a reachability from host 1 to host 3. So if I goes to host 1, okay, so we still have a reachability to host 3. Now again, let's say I will more confuse you, like interface gigabit 0y3, so switch port mode trunk, switch port mode trunk encapsulation dot 1q. So guys, this command not to use in real world, okay. So switch port mode trunk. Now if you see the configuration of this port again, gigabit 0y3. So the confusing point, this command is also configure switch port access VLAN 10. And this trunk command is also configure. Now tell me this port working as a trunk port or access port?
Trunk port.
Yeah,
Trunk.
trunk port.
And will these system communicate or not, like host 1 and host 3? अब अगर मैं चेक करूंगा communication from host 1 to host 3,
Yes.
will we
Communicate.
Yes,
how,
they will,
how many say yes?
they will communicate because they are in that host.
The same VLAN.
No. That is the guys. That's why like I'm checking your concept. Okay, so if you see, I configure like earlier you say like this port is working as a trunk port. Okay, but have we configured any trunk configuration on the remote side? So you can say guys like clearly, if I go to host 1, okay, now my communication should be broken. So I'm not able to ping the traffic. I'm not able to ping the host 3, okay? Because how, as I told you guys, like when you're doing the trunk configuration, make sure the remote device can understand me. Because on the remote side, whether it's a server, whether it's a firewall, in our case, end machine is a router. On the router side, can router understand the .1 queue? No, because we don't have configured any server interface, or so there like router can understand or receive the or decapsulate the .1 queue packet. Okay. Okay, now I'm configuring one more command, and you tell me after that we should have a reachability or not. Yeah, you're right. So because as I told you, this command working basically deciding like this port working as a trunk port. So switch port mode trunk. That means like guys, like you can see show interface trunk. The gigabit 0 by 3 working as a trunk, passing the VLAN 10, but when I sending the traffic, I'm encapsulating the .1 queue tag, and the remote side, this device don't have any .1 queue configuration. Okay. Okay, now I'm configuring one more command. So show run interface gigabit 0 by 3. So I'm removing this switch port mode access VLAN 10 because there is no purpose, okay, because this port is working as a trunk. So I'm configuring one more command, switch port trunk native VLAN 10. Now you tell me, can this host one? So guys, only give the answer, okay, if you actually know the concept, okay. Other don't like give like answer like if you don't know the behind the scene, okay, what is the concept? Now you tell me like if I communicate from host 1 to host 3, whether they communicate or not.
Not communicate because native VLAN should be same to both.
Okay, just we're saying native VLAN should be the other.
So in this case, Gurpreet, if host 3 seems like this is for host 3, right?
Right.
Yeah, if it is host 3 and host 3 seems like not configured as a trunk port. It's a I mean it's not a tagged. It's an untagged port. So it and host 1.
No, host 1 is simple switch for mode access VLAN 10. So let me guys again clarify you the configuration. Okay, so this side simply switch port access
Oh, so then
VLAN
if it
VLAN,
is VLAN 10, okay, no .1 queue, that should communicate.
and
And
this side we have a port is trunk, but our native VLAN is 10. So from host 1 to host 3, as they both are in same subnet, okay. So if I try to communicate and on switch side, this is the configuration we have. Can they communicate or not? First, how many say like yes, they will communicate? So just you said no, right?
Native VLAN is for untagged traffic now. It will
So they will communicate or not? Just tell me.
VLAN 10.
Yes, they will communicate.
Communicate, it will communicate.
So guys, definitely they will communicate. Okay. Now then
It will communicate.
I will explain you. Okay, how? So if I go to host 1 and let me see show no CDP neighbor. Okay. So no CDP run. So ping 192.168.1.3 is communicate. Why they communicate? Let me explain you guys this. So as I told you, what is native VLAN? Okay, so this PC in VLAN 10. So when this system initiate the traffic, so all these are my trunk port. And when this switch receives the traffic on this interface, even this is a trunk port. But for VLAN 10, I'm not adding the any encapsulation. I'm not adding any tag. And this device only understand the untagged traffic. That's why they are communicate. But if you earlier, I was configuring the command switch port mode trunk VLAN 10, even the VLAN is same, but earlier I was tagging the VLAN and the remote device don't understand any tagging. That's why they were not communicate earlier. But once I configure the native VLAN 10, and then this device is basically getting the traffic as a untag, that's why they are responding back to the host one. Okay.
Uh, and what are the demerits of configuring a VLAN 10 on switch 4 interface gigabit 03?
So let me show you the configuration again, guys, on both the end port configuration. Okay, so switch 4 gigabit 0y3. So if we see the configuration again, show run interface gigabit 0y3. This is the configuration on gigabit 0y3. And on switch 3, this is the configuration of, you see the configuration difference?
Is trunk port and one is access port, right?
Right. But on the trunk port side, that VLAN is native VLAN.
Right.
Clear the concept, guys? Like still doubt?
Yeah.
जी any question? अभी तक जो मैंने कवर करा करण क्लियर
डाउट है थोड़ा
पूछो
नहीं काफी चीज मिसिंग है मेरे एंड पे मैं एक बार वीडियो चेक कर लूं दोबारा देख के चेक कर लूंगा आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछता हूं बाद में
एनी अदर
गुरप्रीत सर जैसे हमने VLAN 10 में ये स्विच 4 पे कंफिगर कर दी थी, ठीक है जी, 10 पे नेटिव VLAN 10, तो वो अनटैग्ड मीडिया की नहीं होती है ना, तो फिर अनटैग्ड जो ट्रैफिक आएगा उसका क्या होगा, उसकी डीमेरिट क्या है? जैसे हमने इधर VLAN 10 है और उधर नेटिव VLAN 10 कर दी तो
no. So then you need to understand, okay, like the point which you raise, okay, like the native VLAN must be matched. So that is basically like you see, like you need to understand, okay, basically like how these tagging or untaggings happen. Okay, so you see, like let's say we have a system. We have a system. The switches are connected like this. Okay, so from point A to point B, we have 3 switches coming. Okay. So let's say these are like we simply configure switch port mode access VLAN 10. Okay, now understand this communication. Okay, switch to switch. Okay, I configure this switch port mode at trunk. I configure native VLAN is 20. Both sides. So this need to be matched. The facing side. Okay. So I'm using .1q protocol. And let's say earlier the old protocol ISL. Here I'm using native VLAN 40. So the requirement is basically make sure the native VLAN match with whom? My peer device. Okay. And I'm fulfilling the requirement. And in that case, from A to B, there will be no issue. They will communicate properly. Okay. So in this case, guys, like the trunk is up, we defined, but the remote side, we didn't do any configuration. Okay.
Native VLAN, like there will be a like series of number. We can pick any.
Oh, sorry, guys. One thing wrong. Higher native VLAN should be VLAN 10. Okay, not 2040. 10, 10, 10. But my point is basically, then obviously the native VLAN we can pick not any number. Is basically we can pick from any VLAN number. Okay, which is so VLAN number is 124094. And by default, VLAN 1 is a native VLAN.
That is default.
Yes.
In this case, like tagging should be matched along, whatever it is.
Yeah. So you means like tagging is .1Q protocol, ISL protocol. ISL is basically obsolete. Normally we use .1Q, but yeah, for point to point, okay, the facing interface must has the same protocol and must has the same native VLAN. Okay, the other concept basically like I want to clear you. Okay, like maybe like those I remember like when I given my CCNA certification. Okay, so they have a diagram like this: switch, PC in VLAN 10, PC in VLAN 20, IP is 1.1, 1.2. Here the native VLAN was 20. Here the native VLAN was 10. So here guys, like you will see the obviously mismatch error. So you see guys, like these messages basically discovered via CDP protocol. But if your CDP is disabled, you won't see the message even like right now, guys. Like if you see, I was getting the message like half duplex mismatch, okay. But who detect that those messages, okay? So those are detected via this protocol, okay, CDP. Similarly, guys, like if your native VLAN is a mismatch, who will detect that? Your CDP protocol detect that. But if someone disable the CDP, no CDP run, then you won't get these messages, okay. So it's not a complaint like the native VLAN must be matched, but the point is if you are running because normally we run CDP our internal network because CDP guys like help us to okay to troubleshooting especially or discover your network. So normally we definitely turn on the CDP because like we see like in the real world we on a switch we connected access point, we connected other devices, other vendor devices. So like even some Cisco video devices, okay. All those things, okay, you can easily see show CDP neighbor like on this port access point connected audio video device connected, which is a Cisco one, okay. And if you guys like any other vendor, they support LLDP, link layer discovery protocol, similar like a CDP, but CDP is Cisco proprietary. However, LLDP is open standard. Okay. Even I seen like some of the server also support now these days CDP. I think CDP is now also uh, open standard. Okay, because I seen like some of the server also support CDP and those are not Cisco server. Okay. Just like a EIGRP, I seen like I heard like EIGRP is also now an open standard, but not every vendor supporting EIGRP, but like a CDP is also. But the point is CDP must be enabled on your LAN network. Okay. Some company where they have a very high security might be they are disabling the CDP on the LAN network. So any question regarding the 2-day class? So this is the guy like this is basically our main topic. So regarding the switch port mode trunk. So now I believe guys now your concept is more strong, okay, regarding the switch port mode trunk. Any question